you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Living the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here, coming at you from beautiful sunny San Diego. And I'm here with our beautiful co-host, Jamie Martinez.
What's up, guys?
And today we're going to do a slightly different episode than we've done before. We're going to do a recap of our trip to Fiji and Australia. And we thought about it. We thought, why would we do an episode like this? And well, first off, it was a really cool trip. So if anyone ever does go to Fiji or Australia, you might get some good ideas from this. But mostly because a lot of our clients and members at the gym, they have a huge challenge. We hear this all the time. When they go on trips, when they travel, whether it's pleasure or work, they just don't know how to navigate this situation, this trip, this time away from home, and still chase their health goals. So today we're going to give you some tips and some strategies that we actually did ourselves, that we have done in the past, and that we thought are very helpful if you do struggle with going on a trip and thinking that you have to just fall off the wagon and start over when you get back. So we're going to start it off here. Jamie is a master planner. She is incredible. I think it should be her next job whenever she decides to quit health coaching. She's going to talk a little bit about here how she plans and puts together these trips. She does an incredible job of getting it all down on paper. I think that she should sell these things. If you guys have a trip that you want to go to that we've gone on and we've done it, she has a great itinerary for it. So, Jamie, what's your process when it comes to planning trips, picking the location, getting the hotel rooms, the tickets, and all that stuff? Do you have any tips, strategies that might help people listening?
Yes. Okay. So I will first start with why I started kind of being a little psycho crazy person with planning all of our trips and making these itineraries. A few years ago now, we went to Greece and did a couple of the islands. It was our first trip traveling abroad together. And on this trip, I learned that we are both very indecisive. Like we're kind of very go with the flow. We could be happy doing this or this, which is not a bad thing, but it kind of led to us at certain points just going back and forth. Well, I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? And we ended up just kind of wasting time. So when it's planned, we get to see more things and enjoy every moment of our trip. Next is picking where you are going. And the world is huge, guys. So my tip here, go sign up for Going, G-O-I-N-G, Going, which is a website. You do pay a small fee and there's different levels so you can decide which one works best for you. But basically you go in, you pick the closest airports to you or any that you would be willing to fly out of. And then I'm not even exaggerating, almost daily, I get sent new flight deals. They have people that's literally all that they do. They track these crazy deals through Google Flights, and then they'll send it to you saying, okay, you can go to Spain from March to April or October through November, and this is the price. The thing with them, though, you do have to jump on them. So that is how I found this crazy Australia and Fiji deal. The flights were half off, so as soon as that came through, I was like, I feel like can't pass that up. We got to go. Half off, huge savings. So that's how we decided where we went. Next, once you have that destination, I start all my research. So obviously I'm using Google. I also use Google Maps. I like to type in like the major cities that I already know of that we're for sure going to go to or the place that we're flying into. And then I start to map it out and see what's around there. Fun fact, I'm kind of ashamed to say this, but when I first started researching Australia and just all the different things that you can see and do, I was looking at the East Coast, the West Coast, North, South. I am so silly. I didn't realize how large Australia is. No, you cannot fly from one coast to the other. Well, you can, but it's going to be a very long flight. So with limited days, not the best thing. So that was fun. But so we ended up, because we flew into Sydney, we stayed on the East Coast. So then that was my major or main area of research. So then once you have the general areas that you want to go to, this is when I utilize YouTube. The videos on there, the vlogs, they are so helpful because you can actually see what these attractions or places look like, and it can let you know if that is something that you guys would really enjoy, or if, ooh, actually maybe not. So highly recommend utilizing YouTube. They have videos of almost every single place that we've gone to so far, which is not a ton, I know, but very helpful. And then I'll go to social media. So I'll search the location with a hashtag or different things in that area that we'd like to see. Like we found a really cool hike in Australia in the Blue Mountains that it was this little secret infinity pool, and truly it was just based off of a Instagram reel. So utilize that resource out there.
Yeah, we never would have found that spot. And it was so cool. It was one of the highlights, and we were able to sneak in way off trail, get a drone out, and really cool view. If you want to check out our social media, we have a video of us sitting in the infinity pool right above the waterfall. And we never would have found that if it wasn't for an Instagram hashtag. So that was such a good idea.
Plus, now with all these reels, there's so many out there with people, oh, the top 5 restaurants in San Diego, the top 5 restaurants in Australia, in Sydney. So they kind of help you dial it in and narrow it down too to some really beautiful, cool places. And the last thing that I used to help plan this trip was actually a book that you gave to me, Damien. It was a travel guide on Australia. And so I read all of the chapters, all the pages of all the spots that we were going to go to.
Amazing. Love it. Yeah. And I just loved having the opportunity to walk in, see you watching these videos. We could kind of get a glimpse of what we were going to be experiencing when we were there. We had like the whole outline together, but we could deviate off of the plan if we needed to. Obviously, if something came up or one of the locals told us about a really cool place, we subbed it out and we went for the thing that we thought we wanted to do more in the time and in that time. So just having the outline really helped us expedite the process of not wasting time and being more efficient with our trip, because time is valuable when we're over there. So I really appreciate you putting in all that work. I know it's a lot of time. I know you enjoy it, but it's definitely a lot of time. I think we should go into the trip, how we started, and then we'll go through some tips and strategies that we used to keep our bodies moving, that we used when we were looking for nutrition, or when we didn't have the opportunity to eat the food that we wanted, what we did instead. Because I think one of the biggest things that the people that we train struggle with, the people that go on vacation at our gym struggle with, they'll always come back and they'll be like, man, I fell off. I did 2 weeks. I drank every day, blah, 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 blah. I gained this much weight. Now I have to punish myself for coming back. And it's like, it does not have to be like that. You can do little things throughout this trip that do not sacrifice the experience at all, but still allow you to be able to minimize the damage that's done when you're not on your routine at home. So let's start it off with us going to the airport. We took an Uber up to LA. Our Uber driver was named Dalton. Shout out to Dalton. You're the man. And then when we got dropped off, that's when we were faced with our first health decision. You know that when you get to an international flight, you have to get there extra early. So what did we do, Jamie? We decided, instead of just sitting there,
we walked around. We got our steps because we knew that we were about to sit on a plane for 11 hours direct to Fiji. Not awful, but definitely not a short flight. So yes, we had our big backpacks on. We decided we didn't want to take little rolly bags. It's much easier when the bag is on your back. And that also adds to our health and our fitness goals, right? We're carrying weight around the entire time. We took the stairs every opportunity. We're not taking the elevator. We're not taking the escalator, even with a bag on our back, because we can.
That's right. Michael Easter, the author of The Comfort Crisis, he started to popularize the 2% club, because the 2%ers, there's only 2% of people, when offered the option of an escalator or a set of stairs, only 2% take the stairs. 98% take the escalator. And I'll post this every once in a while on social media, and I'll have people be like, but what about their bags? Like, their bags, they have to take the escalator because of their bags. And I'm like, no, you pick that puppy up. You packed it. You need to carry it. So just a great way to get your cardiovascular fitness in. You get your motor revved up by power muscles of climbing stairs. You avoid the crowds. You also feel better about yourself. Like, it's a no-brainer, really. And especially if you're going to be sitting on a plane for hours at a time. We won't take those what are those walkways that actually move with you? We try to actually race people that are on them and we're
Yeah.
off them.
And we beat them every time. It's so fun.
Jamie's a fast walker, so it's pretty good. But just finding a way to not let technology, not let your environment remove the movement from your situation. Instead, try to do the opposite. Try to find ways to add in movement. So if you are waiting for an hour, go and do some laps around the airport. That is exactly what rucking is putting a little bit of a weight on your back and moving. You'll notice that some people might say, oh, but won't I get tired and this and that? It actually brings more energy. Momentum builds on momentum. You could also, if you're worried about maybe missing your flight or whatever, you want to stay right there at the gate. You could do some mobility stuff, not like crazy mobility stuff where people start to look at you weird, but you could do a kneeling hip flexor stretch right by your seat. You could do straight leg, forward fold, hamstring stretches and flossers in order to be able to kind of like get those muscles that are about to be shortened for a long period of time in a lengthened position, and also just kind of keep the movement in your legs. You could do torso twists by like sitting up super tall, grabbing your opposite knee with your opposite hand and twisting and getting that low back to stretch. Lots of neck rolls. You could do the pigeon stretch from a seated position where you put your ankle up on your knee and you lean into it and really get the outside of your hip to stretch. So there's like tons of stuff that you can do to work on enhancing your body while you're waiting. So that was like our first tip right there, is try not to just do what everybody else does. Sit, wait for their plane, try to get on the plane first, that kind of thing. What else do we got?
Yeah, I mean, you just said it right there. So to go along with it, why rush to go sit down on the plane, right? We knew we had assigned seats. So in our mind, we're like, why are we going to go rush to just sit there even longer when no one can sit in our seat? Those are ours. So that's just another tip. We always try to be the very last people to board if possible, just to get that extra standing and walking time.
Yeah, and the only downside is obviously if you have a bag that you're worried about getting in the overhead compartment, you don't want to be last on the plane, because then you might have to put your bag way behind where you're sitting. And in that case, you're screwed because you have to wait for everyone to get off the plane in order for you to go back and get your bag. So, of course, there are definitely exceptions to these rules, but you're just kind of seeing the basis of what we're trying to say here. Move as much as you can. Try to avoid being sedentary as much as you can. When we're on the plane, we have some obstacles that we encounter. You're going to be sitting for a while. You're probably not going to have access to very good food, not going to have access to very good clean water. What are some strategies that you have with that?
Yeah, so we took a red eye, so we knew we were going to get served breakfast for sure. I think it was 2 meals that they gave us. But we packed snacks just because we know the food on the airplane is not always the best. So we made sure to plan ahead. We brought some dried fruit, we brought some nuts, and some jerky.
Yeah, and for me, I'm really picky, so I just don't even like the food, even if it wasn't filled with plastic and craziness. But so what I do is I just take that time, which probably isn't best for my muscle gain goal, but I take that day or that half day to fast. I just drink water. I will eat some of those snacks every once in a while, but really I just put it in my head that, hey, I'm just not going to be eating. And that's totally fine, because I will go ahead at our next meal. I'm going to indulge. I'm going to have a big old meal, probably a couple of drinks. So it's all going to even itself out if I keep my body moving as much as I can, if I minimize the sedentariness as much as I can, and if I balance out my time of not eating a lot with my time of indulging, it should all balance out in the end. So that's kind of my strategy when it comes to eating at the airport, eating on the airplane.
Yeah, it was crazy. I would see, because I'm not the best sleeper on planes, so on a couple of those long flights, the people next to us would literally be woken up from being dead asleep by the flight attendant and offering them their meal, and 9 times out of 10 almost every single person said yes. And I'm like, just thinking to myself, there's nothing wrong with that, but are you actually truly hungry? Like, you were just passed out. Are you just eating because they're right there in front of you offering you food, so you feel like you have to? Just these little things that I was noticing.
Yeah, and then we landed and we got to where we needed to be, and that was in Fiji.
Yeah, bula.
So Fiji's amazing. We found out very quickly that they're some of the nicest people, and they are so happy to see you, and it's just a great reception. We took a little taxi to the resort that we were staying at. Was it a resort or was it a hotel?
Yeah, we were at a Hilton.
Hilton. So this was one long stretch of beautiful, they were like triplexes that you could go to, and it was about 2 miles long. So you had the lobby, and then about a mile north and a mile south, you had all the rooms that were lining the ocean view. It was beautiful. In order to get to your room, they offered you the Bula bus. So the Bula bus was this bus that would come around. You would have to wait at the little bus stop, and you could get taken to your room. And we decided, again, we could either wait 10, 15 minutes for this bus to show up. It could grab us with our big bags, and we could get to our room in probably 3 minutes. Instead, we decided to take a 15-minute walk with our bags on our back to our rooms, and we said no thank you to the Bula bus. So that's another situation where we had the choice. Did we waste any more time? Not really, because we would have had to wait for the bus. We would have had to do, all that stuff, loading and unloading with the other passengers on the bus. So it really evened out, and we were able to get steps in. We were able to see the scenery, and that you see things a little bit more in depth when you're walking slowly, enjoying, rather than flying past it in a shuttle. So that was another thing that we did, decided to pass on the Bula bus. Anything else that you can think of when we were in Fiji that was kind of like a hack or a strategy that we used?
Yeah, and then right after we got in, they had an adults only section, which was amazing for us. And it was another, I think, half-mile walk, which we decided to walk on our own 2 feet to the unlimited buffet. And yes, we definitely indulged, but we also were mindful and made sure to load our plates with a good amount of protein, fresh fruit, right? Try the local food. You know that that's the freshest stuff. And what did we do after our big meal? We went on a beautiful beach walk.
Yes, I love that about being on vacation. You have the flexibility that you really don't have to be places at a certain time, usually. So anytime you have a meal, this is your opportunity to walk it off. Go see some sights, help your digestion, increase your movement, and get your daily steps up. Great strategy here. After every single meal, take a little walk. Anything else memorable from Fiji?
Yeah, we did some fun, active excursions. So we did a ziplining tour, a waterfall hiking tour where we actually got to be alone in this waterfall. There were no other humans except for our guide, so that was super cool. So just think about these things when you're looking at things to do wherever you're traveling to. We love to be active. We don't love to just lay on the beach all day. We are so lucky that we live here in San Diego, but we can do that here. So we like to move and get around, check it out. So
Yeah, that might be something that you want to think about when you're making your itinerary. You just think about, how can I slide in some active excursions and things that'll keep my body moving? Zip lining, hiking. We did a double-decker restaurant in the middle of the ocean where we could dive off the second story and all that good stuff. So that was fun. What are ways that you can incorporate moving activities into your trip?
And from Fiji, we took a 4-hour flight into Sydney, Australia. And we ended up staying in the Rocks area for our first 2 nights. And here's maybe a little tip if you are traveling on a budget like we are. So in Fiji, first part of our trip, we stayed at a nice resort. It was Fiji. We figured that's a spot to kind of stay on the water. And Damien let me use most of his points for that. But mid-trip, I like to utilize hotels.com. I was doing a lot of research, obviously, and I found that the Rocks area is close to a ton of things that you would want to see in Sydney. So I knew the general area that we wanted to be in. So from there, went to hotels.com and just found a cheaper one that was walkable to all these places that we wanted to see. I'm pretty sure that hotel room was leaking on us from the room above.
Yeah, that's like the one downside, right? You get what you pay for. So we started off our trip being a little bougie, which was great. We felt good. We felt settled in. And then here's where the actual trip starts to start, because we go to the hotel in Sydney, and as soon as we get there, the bathroom ceiling is leaking. We go down to tell the people that were also just the bartenders. So like the bartenders were below the hotel in a bar, and we asked, like, how do we check in? And they were the people checking us in. So we went down to tell them about the leaky ceiling, and they're like, oh, no way. Okay, I'll figure it out. and that was it. And so we were like, okay, we'll just go back up to our leaking ceiling room. It's fine. But like, it is what it is. It was fine. We just put some towels down and the trip was not ruined. So, you get what you pay for. Expect that kind of thing when you do the hotels.com. But I would much rather save my money for the dinners, the going to do the excursions, all that kind of stuff, rather than going super high end on the lodging where you're only there for a little bit of your day.
Exactly, exactly. And again, it was in a great location, and the restaurant downstairs actually had really great food. That was our first meal, and we were like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've had.
And side note, just for those traveling to Sydney or that have been there, you already know Sydney is so clean. It's like everywhere you go, super clean, even the bathrooms. Jamie hates public bathrooms, and she didn't mind these at all.
I was gladly going into them.
Yeah, no homeless people on the streets or anything like that. Maybe a little graffiti here and there, but it was cool. Sydney's also like work hard, play hard, because during the day, it's this huge city, but nobody's out. Everyone's working. We're walking the streets. We're like, wow, this is like no one's here. And then as soon as it's happy hour, places get crazy. So work hard, play hard. Really like that. I wish we would have been able to talk to a little bit more of the locals, but we didn't really connect with too many people. Yeah. So from Sydney, what was next? We took a little train over to the Blue Mountains, which is considered like their Grand Canyon, which definitely one of the highlights. The train was a cool strategy because it didn't cost money like a plane ticket. It wasn't an Uber. We had time to kind of do our own thing, play on our phones, and do a little bit of work.
Yeah, it was a quick 2-hour inland train ride, and the process of getting a ticket and boarding the train was so freaking easy, you guys. Like, I thought that they were maybe messing with us. As long as you have a credit card, it's the same process to get onto one of their ferries. You just go up to the little stall, you tap your credit card on there, and then it lets you go in. Whereas, like, I've done trains with my sister in the past throughout Europe, and it was like this whole process where we had to have the ticket before, and like we've gotten on the wrong train. It just, for some reason, it seemed like it was such a hot mess, but this was the easiest, smoothest experience. So we only were able to spend one night in the Blue Mountains, but we went there strictly to get some hiking in and to see some cool canyons. We stayed in the town of Katoomba, which is the main launching spot, I would say, for a lot of the big hikes. And they have buses all throughout this little cute mountain town that will pick you up no matter where you are in the little city and then drop you off at the trailheads. And we opted to not take the bus, and we actually walked a couple miles to the trailheads instead.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. We didn't have our bags on. It was beautiful weather, maybe a little tiny bit hot, but we had our cool hiking hats on. So we decided we're going to take this thing. We're walking a few miles, back roads, right up to where people get dropped off on the bus. And we felt good about it. A lot of movement. We got to see a really cool, tiny little town that we would have missed all these things. These parks that had really cool, like, playgrounds for the kids, almost dungeony, and I don't know. It was really cool. I've never seen anything like it before. And oh yeah, and even the porta potties at the parks were clean. Very impressive, Australia. Very impressive.
So after one night in the Blue Mountains, 2 days of hiking, lots of movement, we headed back to Sydney. And then from there, we flew up north, still on the East Coast, to the Whitsunday Islands. So the Whitsunday Islands are just south of the most southern tip of the Great Barrier Reef. And this was the second half of our trip to Australia. So we were getting ready to spend 4 nights up on Hamilton Island. And this is where we again splurged on our hotel, and we used Damien's points again. Yay, thank you. But we had 4 nights in a little bungalow on Hamilton Island. So as soon as we got to the island, we noticed that there were golf carts everywhere. We opted out and decided to carry our bags on our back up this little hill to our hotel.
Yeah, and so it was like every single person had a golf cart, and the golf cart costed $90 to $100 a day. We were like, well, we've already gone this far in this trip with all of our walking. This was huge because one of the main things that you did at this place, which was gorgeous, by the way, there's little kangaroos everywhere. These cockatoos were just like pigeons, but they're just the most beautiful pigeon birds you've ever seen. we could go uphill to the very peak where there was this really, really beautiful sunset lookout, or we could go downhill to where all the restaurants and the bay, the port and all that stuff was. So we're constantly going up and downhill. We also decided to do a hike on Hamilton Island called
Passage Peak.
Passage Peak. Yeah, Passage Peak. It was like the biggest hike on the entire thing, and we didn't see maybe more than 5 people on it. Everyone that's on a resort wants to stay on the resort. So what was really cool was we were out on this beautiful hike, nobody out there. At the very top, we pretty much had it to ourselves. And this is right during a time actually where this cyclone was picking up. So they talked about how this cyclone was going to be coming and hitting the shores of Hamilton Island, Northeast Australia, and we are up there, and it's just the wind is 40 miles an hour. It was crazy, but other than that, it was a really, really beautiful hike. It was cool. Nobody up there. We got our steps in.
The bluest water. Oh my gosh, like it was breathtaking. And that was our day 1 on Hamilton Island. The next day, we got up early. We were getting ready to go on our snorkeling tour of the Great Barrier Reef. And we got there, and the captain told us that it was too windy because that's where the cyclone was the strongest. It was actually heading straight towards the Great Barrier Reef. So that was really sad.
Yeah. Well, actually, to be more straightforward, it wasn't canceled. They got us all together in this little huddle, and they were like, what do you guys think? What do you think? Should we do it? And then it was all the Americans. All the Americans that were there with us, they were like, no way. No. I'm like, guys, you came across the freaking world for this. But I could see they weren't very conditioned. They were definitely a little bit on the older side. So if anything were to happen to the boat, I could totally understand. It's a scary thing. So just joking aside, but yeah, they canceled. You were super bummed because that was like the biggest reason why we went over there. But, it gives us a reason to go back. We adjusted. We went and we had a really, really nice time. We spent most of the time in the hotel because it was super rainy. We went and got food from the store, and you cooked 2 really, really good meals for cheaper than we would have gone out. We got some movies that we had, like movies that other people say everyone should see that we haven't seen. We watched those. You got to see The Matrix for the first time.
Yeah.
That was weird that you hadn't seen The Matrix, but now you know. Red pill or blue pill. So we were able to adjust there. Yeah, we definitely drank probably a bottle of wine each day we were in the hotel for the whole day because, there's not a lot to do. What did we do? We made sure that we got out in the rain. It was warm, but it was raining, and we got out and we walked every once in a while. So kept the movement up.
We got in the pool one day too. It was us and one other tiny little family because it's raining and windy, but we wanted to get some movement in, so we made sure to do it.
That's right. Rain or shine, rain or shine.
After we survived the cyclone, we headed back to Sydney, back to Fiji, and then home.
Yeah. All right. So let's do a little recap as to the things that really probably helped us the most with staying on track while we were traveling. In the movement category, it's just being intentional with light movement throughout the entire trip. Notice that we didn't once say that we went and did a workout at a gym. Not once did we do a workout, which we usually do, but this time we didn't. Whole 2 weeks. When you're in the airport, walking instead of sitting, doing mobility before your long flight. When you are encountered like in Fiji or Hamilton Island, we had the cart option or the walk option. Do the walk option. Even if you don't think it's that plausible, do it anyway. And then if you figure out that it's just way too much, you can get an Uber or a taxi or whatever, but try to take the walking option. Hikes are a great way to see the scenery, see the sights, and get your movement in. Active excursions like snorkeling, swimming, that kind of stuff, it goes a long way. You have the freedom to walk after every meal. So yes, you're probably going to eat some large meals with some alcoholic beverages, but make sure that you walk after every meal and find stairs, find hills, get that motor going. So a lot of times when you're in Europe, you have lots of stairs to climb. Figure out ways to get a little bit of movement in with some incline. And we carried our own luggage everywhere. So instead of getting a roller bag, we got a bag that you could put on your back. Great hacks for movement when you're traveling. In the nutrition category, just understand that alcohol is most likely going to be a part of this trip. Stop feeling guilty about it and just minimize your damage with a little bit of planning. Move your body post alcohol binge. So whenever you drink alcohol, you got to help your body use that alcohol as energy as soon as possible to clear the poison from your body. And that'll help with your movement. That'll probably help with your hangover. Avoid the super sugary drinks, the Mai Tais, the margaritas, the 10 different juices to make it all fruity, that kind of thing. Just go with, the seltzers. We stuck with wine and seltzers, and we avoided those big sugar bomb cocktails. Now, if the restaurant has a specialty cocktail menu, of course, give it a shot, but just do your best to have only one or two of those a day. Get the good stuff. You're in a place that has its own food customs and things that are really unique to them. So get the good stuff, enjoy it slowly, eat it slowly, put your forks down in between bite and really eat mindfully. We went to this really amazing steakhouse in Sydney called Bistecca. It was a speakeasy where you are in this alley. It looks like it's this random door to go nowhere. We go down and it's just this most beautiful restaurant. They take away your phones so you can enjoy the meal when you're there. It was super cool, but they had you cut off this huge piece of steak, and we ate a bite and we sat there and we just enjoyed it to the fullest. Enjoy the good stuff. On your longer trips, maybe choose some days where you're going to wait until dinner to drink. I know Jamie had a couple of days where she wasn't feeling too hot and she was like, I'm just going to wait until dinner to drink if we're going to drink at all, and I'm only going to have 1 or 2 glasses of wine. And she made that conscious decision based on where we were at in our trip, and she really felt good after that. Water is going to be so important. You will be dehydrated. So carry a water bottle with you constantly. Avoid the dehydration of your brain, your body, your tissues. Alternate water drinks with alcoholic drinks. So make sure that when you're drinking a bunch of alcohol, you squeeze in a glass of water in between each of those drinks. That's a great strategy that I use. And Sydney had all of these amazing, cool water refill stations that you could go to. So we had these water bottles, and everywhere we went to, they had really cool water refill stations that it was just really great for us to be able to keep our bodies hydrated. Protein snacks and meals, make sure that you prioritize your protein, get all that protein in, and then you can enjoy the other sweeter stuff. And it's okay to fast if you don't have access to good food. If it's just trash airport food or gas station food, maybe you're going to fast, and that's okay. Every once in a while, that's not going to hurt you. And then cook home meals if you can. Jamie cooked 2 home meals in the bungalows while we were holed up for the cyclone. We saved money. We got healthy foods. We had a really great experience. Other things that I think maybe helped us on the trip was we took a probiotic. Our probiotic is called Seed, SEED. They have a supplement which has like a double capsule, so it has the ability for the microbiota in the pill to get a little bit deeper into your digestive system, which we really like it. We took it every single day to help with any kind of travel stomach issues that, kind of come up when you're eating food and drinking water that's not from where you're from. So maybe take a prebiotic that you're able to bring around with you the whole trip. And we also still tried to stick to our nighttime routine. Yes, it was 20 hours difference, but we still tried to stick to what we did as far as our nighttime routine. We watched something funny. We did something relaxing. We had the lights down low at a certain time. We tried our best to wake up with the sun. And then when the sun went down, we tried our best to keep the lights low. So all those things are going to help, because when your sleep is off and if you're going crazy every single night on vacation, and if you're going to do that, just, sometimes that's the kind of trip that you have. But for us, we wanted to make sure that we came back as rested as possible while still enjoying the activities that we wanted to enjoy. And Jamie was really big on this. She was big on thinking about her future self when eating and drinking and how you're going to feel the next day when she was making her decisions. So, yeah, you got anything to say on that subject?
No, I was just thinking the future self thing was probably my biggest, I don't want to call it a hack, but we had one day where we totally just laid at the beach all day, just drank and ate, and with very little movement. And I felt it the next day. And I was like, I do not want to feel this again on this trip. So just be mindful and think of your future self. Do I really need those extra 2 drinks? Do I really need that dessert? And how am I going to feel about it tomorrow?
Love it. Hopefully you guys got something great from this episode that you can incorporate into your next trip. And if there is something that you struggled with while traveling and we didn't talk about it, send us a message. Maybe we can talk about it on the next episode and we can see what others think about that situation. Have fun out there, friends. Travel safe. See the world. It is a beautiful world. We will catch you on the next one.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for listening and learning here with us on the Living the Dream podcast. We are so grateful for you being a part of this lifelong learning journey. If you have any topics you'd like to discuss, please let us know in the comments or by messaging me on Instagram at CoachDamien_SD. Be kind to someone today, smile at someone today, and leave every person you come into contact with better than before. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.